Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're playing Drawback Chess, where each player is assigned a random drawback, like Lame Duck, where you can't move your king, or True Gentleman, where you can never capture a queen. My goal is to win 3 games, but the game only counts if my drawback is harder than my opponent's. Let's get started with game number 1. Alright, game number 1, we get the black pieces, and our drawback is pawn battle. Lose if you have fewer pawns than your opponent. Okay, so I think honestly the strategy here is probably just sack a piece for a pawn from the very beginning. It gives you a chance to throw the opponent off guard, and makes it so that there's never an accidental capture that loses you the game. And take on c3, the knight takes back, sure. We now have one more pawn than the opponent does, and that should be more than enough. And as long as the opponent doesn't understand why we played that very fast move, that is, they don't recognize the drawback immediately from the moves we're making, then we should be in for at least half decent game down a piece. We get pawn to e4. Let's go and play pawn to d6, at least pretend like we're trying to fight for the center, which we should be doing. Knight to d7, normal developing moves. Go ahead and do the queenside fianchetto of the bishop. Pawn to e5. Okay, question is, do I accept and open up the center, or do I just move back? And I think I should just move back. It's a little bit passive, but it should be perfectly playable. Ooh, bishop comes out. I'm gonna boot the bishop. Funny enough, if they sack and grab these 2 pawns, I immediately lose. But they do move the bishop back. We'll develop our own bishop, eyeing the rook, and then maybe we have ideas of like c5, rook to c8, just very positional moves. They're probably going to go for like a cheeky little queen to h7. Question is, do I actually have a defense against that? I don't know if I do, but I'm at least going to pretend like I have a queenside attack going. They do go for that cheeky little mate idea. We immediately respond with g6, which does lose the exchange, but I think we'll be able to hold out for at least a little bit. We'll go ahead and take back. I'm waiting to see what the opponent's drawback is, because I've seen nothing weird from them so far, which is sort of good news because it means their drawback is probably pretty easy, which means if we win this, it does count towards our goal of 3 victories with harder drawbacks. But if it's so easy that I can't even see it in the first 15 moves, then maybe there's cause for concern. They are taking a lot of time on this move though. We get pawn to b3. Line up the rook with these 2 pieces. This is admittedly a pretty weird move. Unless that was the only trick they had up their sleeve, and they're not thinking of like h4, h5, or bishop h6 or anything like that. If that was the only trick up their sleeve, then we might be in a good position. We get knight to a4, threatens this pawn. Go for the pawn break. Again, we want to engage on the queen side. As long as we're engaging on the queen side, we are not getting slaughtered on the king side, which maybe is just more present for me in my mind, because that's the kind of attack that I would definitely go for without batting an eye. But it could also be what the opponent goes for. Oh, free piece? Free piece? And not just any free piece, the bishop that was threatening to move into these really weak and dark squares. So I believe with that, we've regained our piece. No questions asked. Nice. We've also gotten rid of one of the opponent's attacking pieces. And to be honest, their position is a little bit uncoordinated at the moment. It's not clear how you regroup and go for another attack. We get pawn to g3. We'll just move the rook back. I mean, if we've got an open file, we might as well play to keep it. Oh, bishop to d3 with the skewer, nice little find, which does force me to move back, I believe, just to defend the bishop, which is a fair trade, but then I'm the one who's a little bit uncoordinated at that point. Rook on a6, we get knight to d4. Oh wait, can I not even hold on to that bishop? Wow, maybe I can't. If I take, the opponent takes with tempo on the queen. Wow, that was a very good find by the opponent, holy smokes. Bishop c4, knight takes, I take, and I just lose a rook outright. No, I lose the exchange. Okay, I guess that's my best chance. And if the bishop takes, I take back with the rook and get it out of danger. Okay, they do take, so we do get a redeeming move. Luckily enough, the opponent is now down to almost a minute, and I'd say minus that minor, maybe major flub. But we did recover from it. Besides that, I think we're doing okay in this position. Still some weaknesses on the king side, but the opponent hasn't demonstrated any interest in developing that attack. They have gotten their queenside position together though. Rooks are now connected, knights are making their way back towards the center. Doing a pretty good. Oh wait, that's free. Free knight though. Positionally sound, tactically, unfortunately not backed. You get pawn to f4, might as well threaten a cheeky little discovered attack. Worst case, we trade queens. I do have to keep in mind, I always want more pawns than my opponent. We'll give check, winning the queen with the discovered attack. Oh, or winning the king, even better. And with that, we win game number 1. All right, let's go and pop up the info board. All right, game number 1. Your opponent's drawback was True Gentleman. Oh, this is the one in the introduction. That's so funny. And our drawback was in fact harder than our opponent's, so it does count towards our 1 of 3. With that, we win game number 1. Let's go to move on to game number 2. All right, game number 2, we get the white pieces. Our drawback is rising water. Every 10 turns, the water level rises 1 rank. You can't move pieces that are underwater, and you can't move to squares that are underwater. Yeah, we've had this drawback before. Okay, so yeah, definitely the queen has to be saved. The king doesn't have to be saved. He'll stay on the back rank for the whole game. Bishops I'd like to save. And there's 9 turns remaining before it goes into effect. Let's start with the bishops. We'll go e3, bishop d3, and then like queen f3 or something to that effect. I don't want to waste any turns trading, but if it gets my queen out, then I guess it's not really a wasted turn. Bishop to d3, pre-move the recapture. The other reason I wouldn't really want to trade is that it gives me less pieces to attack, which will probably be necessary as I start running really low on the number of squares that I can actually move to. Knight to e4, we'll play queen to f3. She is a priority. 5 turns left actually means I think I can save both knights and even pretend to castle, which would be nice. I'd rather my king be stuck on g1 than stuck on e1. At least it looks like I'm playing normal chess. 4 turns left. Knight to e2 is probably a little more precise there, so I can recapture, but it's okay. Pawn to g5. They're wasting my tempo, and I really can't have this right now. If I play bishop to e5, f6 is almost guaranteed. So bishop g3 is what they want, bishop g3 is what they're going to get. 3 turns left until the water level rises again. If they entertain the game with too many more trades, we are not in a good spot. Ooh, pawn to g4. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to walk into the position. Queen d2 is probably the more natural move, but the water level is going to rise not that many turns after, and I just can't have that. I'm just going to take on c7. If the opponent's going to let me infiltrate the position, then you can grab all my pieces. I'm going to go for the attack. I'm going to go for mate. 1 turn remaining means I think I can save 1 more piece, but that might not even be necessary if this attack is successful. Okay, they take, which leaves me pretty much no option but to take back, I believe. Or actually, let's give this intermediate check. Yeah, all of these pieces are goners now, which is a huge shame. We could have had at least another piece in combat, but the opponent was going for an attack right away, which means they're lashing out for some reason. They're desperate to get their king out of some sort of danger, or at least to unravel their drawback in some way. So we're going to take full advantage of that. 10 turns before the water level rises again, and we're looking to recapture here as well. Problem with a quick attack. Whoa! King is just left hanging. We take. Nice, and with that we win game number 2. Holy smokes. That was pretty easy peasy. All right, let's go and pop up the info board and figure out what on earth just happened. All right, game number 2, you won. You took your opponent's king. Your opponent's drawback was blinded by the sun. You can't end your turn attacking e5. I mean, I can see how that would make a lot of normal developing moves difficult, like knight to c6 wouldn't be possible. Queen to f6, queen to d6, bishop d6, fianchettoing the bishop on g7, none of those moves are possible because you would be attacking e5. But I think they had a little bit too much of an aggressive reaction to that drawback, because they did allow a pretty straightforward attack on the king. All right, with that, we have 2 victories under our belt, both with harder drawbacks than the opponent. Let's go to move on to game number 3. Before we move on, if you want to improve your openings, I recommend checking out the sponsor of this video, chessreps.com, which offers easy step-by-step opening lessons. Drill your opening to climb to the top of the leaderboard, or do puzzles that come from real games. Like this puzzle, where I can click back to see how we got to this Jobava London position, before delivering this nasty fork. Puzzles are completely free, so you can keep doing puzzles to increase your opening elo, and then take that practice into a real game, like I did to crush my opponent with the Jobava London. If you want to support the channel and become an opening menace, check out chessreps.com. Now, back to the video. Alright, game number 3, we're playing against a mosquito apparently, with the black pieces, and our drawback is devil on your shoulder. Oh no, I hate this drawback. You have to obey the worst move in the position every 8 turns, I believe. Yeah, gives you 7 turns to do it, and if you don't, then you have to on the 8th. Alright, we might as well play g5. That's what the devil wants us to play, so we might as well throw it out onto the board. Yeah, pawn to e4, wow, they think we're playing a gambit. Do not mind if I do. And then this is of course the worst move because it's mate in 1. I don't remember how to play this gambit. We'll play h6, continue developing our pieces. We'll play bishop g7, go for this fianchetto and castle, probably d6 to fight for e5 as well. We have to obey the devil every certain number of turns. So A, terrible drawback, very, very difficult to play. The only thing you really have going for you is that every so often you can sort of just drop a piece and the devil will be happy. Go ahead and castle out of the way. Besides that, we should probably be looking for attacking ideas very quickly. One of 2 things will happen. The opponent will have a very easy drawback and it will be nullified immediately, or the opponent will have a difficult drawback and not be able to stop us because of some sort of complication. Okay, so here, this is the worst move, and I'm actually tempted to play that. We only have 4 more turns to play the worst move, and if this is the worst move on the board, by all means. Okay, we do get takes. Of course, this is the worst move because it gives up the king. We should probably start thinking about starting an attack of some kind. which is very, very hard to put together. But let's go c5, d6. I'd like queen to d6, knight g4, combining some sort of attacking idea. Wow, pawn to e5, piece right to the face. We'll go knight to g4. This check is on the board, but I can sort of just move out of the way. The problem is now the worst move will always be giving up the king. So unless I mate the opponent within 7 turns, it's pretty much as good as gone. Yeah, I have to move the king out of the way, which eats up another turn. King shuffles over. I've disobeyed 3 turns in a row, and I can only do it 7 before I have to obey on the 8th. Okay, let's go f6, queen to c7. Almost guaranteed they take. This just feels like the kind of player that would. Yeah, they would. Queen to c7, nice and quick. Please do not notice that this is not losing. Actually, this is losing, so I have to take back. But I'm looking for queen to h2. That's the idea. Whoa, queen sacrifice. I'm definitely going to take that. Okay, the opponent definitely has a hard drawback, so this might not even count towards our victory if theirs is more difficult than ours. But ours is so bad that I'd be hard-pressed to believe that. I've disobeyed 6 turns in a row. I have to take, yeah, which means that I have to obey on the next turn, which would include giving up the king. So pretty much on my next turn, I have to take. Oh, I have to play, it's that turn now. It's that time right about now. King to g8, I think does lose us the game. King shuffles out of the way. Wait a minute. We reset. First, I'm going to move my king out of the way. That's the first thing I'm going to do, because the opponent must have a drawback where they can't capture on a certain turn. Now, is it worth taking on h2 right now? It feels like it is. Oh my goodness. Now I have to be mature and figure out a different strategy. No, I'm going to take on h2. Oh, the king does take back. Well, that was a complete waste of my time. Let's go for the rook lift. I probably should have done that first. The king develops. We'll go knight to c6. Rook shuffles over. We'll take with the knight. D6 check. Again, I'm just looking to give checks to the king until the opponent's drawback, comes into play and they have to lose by some complication. What do we do here? Guess we move the king out of the way. That seems so passive though. Knight to f5 check doesn't work because of this discovered attack. So I guess we do move the king out of the way. I've disobeyed 6 turns in a row though, so I only have 1 more at my disposal. Okay, we must play king to g6. The opponent is probably so confused. Oh, they move king to g4, which means we can take, which does win us game number 3. 3 for 3, all with harder drawbacks than the opponent. Let's go ahead and pop up the info board. Don't mind if I do, you won. You took your opponent's king. Let's find out what on earth our opponent was doing. Your opponent's drawback was hedonic treadmill. You must move a piece at least as valuable as your opponent's last move piece. Oh. Okay, this is a very good example. And ours was, as you can see, incredibly difficult. Our opponent's is already surprisingly hard, and ours is just bright red flaming hot difficulty. But it works absolutely like a perfect puzzle piece to our drawback, because our drawback makes us make the worst move, which when you're under attack often means moving the king into danger. But if we move our king into danger, the opponent must move their king. No choice. And their king was already under attack, so that must have been absolutely brutal. But with that, we do win all 3 games. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know down below what the hardest drawback that you've ever played is. Has anybody actually gotten the stockfish drawback, like where you can't make the best move on the board? I feel like that should be not that difficult to defeat, but I've read a lot of comments with pretty convincing arguments that it should be. So maybe I'll go back and read those again, because it's been so long that now I've convinced myself again that it's not that difficult. But either way, let me know what your hardest drawback has been, and I will see you guys in the next one.